What if I told you that you could unlock the entire soul of an art form as complex as flamenco with just one letter of the alphabet? Well, today our key is the letter J. We're going to explore just a few simple words that, I promise you, reveal pretty much everything about the heart and history of flamenco. So let me ask you this. What in the world connects a fisherman's song, a super rowdy party, and a single human breath? It sounds like a riddle, right? But the answer, believe it or not, gets you straight to the soul of flamenco. So let's start piecing this puzzle together. To really get flamenco, you can't start on some grand stage with perfect lighting. No. We have to start somewhere way more intimate, more essential. We have to start at a party. And this party is called a juerga. Now, I need you to forget everything you think you know about a formal concert. Picture a crowded room, totally electric with energy, where the music just happens. And that line between the performer and the audience, it completely dissolves. This, right here, is the social heart of flamenco. It's a celebration that runs on joy, on connection, and on some seriously incredible art. And in the middle of this juerga, you have the jaleador. But here's the key, the really cool part. A jaleador isn't just one specific person. It can be anyone who's adding to that energy. The singer, the guitarist, the person clapping in rhythm, even someone in the audience who shouts out some encouragement. And that, right there, is a core truth of flamenco. There are no passive spectators. Everybody is part of the show. Okay, so from this incredible, lively party, let's zoom in a little bit on the performance itself. Because all that amazing energy from the juerga, it doesn't just vanish. It gets channeled into a really crucial part of the music. You hear all these shouts, these exclamations of encouragement. But come on, it's got to be more than just random yelling, right? This is exactly where just being there, participating, becomes a real art form. And this is jaleo. Those shouts of ole, they're a fundamental piece of the flamenco aesthetic. Think of them like the threads that connect the performer to the audience, weaving everyone together into the fabric of that moment. It's not noise, it's a conversation, a rhythmic dialogue that fuels the fire. And get this, jaleo actually has rules. It's a legitimate technique. You don't just shout whenever the mood strikes. First, you have to listen deeply for the compás, that's the underlying rhythm. Then you place your shout on the silent beats to push the music forward. And you save that big encouragement for the perfect moment, a moment of incredible expression or when the artist is tackling something really difficult. See, it's not just shouting, it's an art of precision and deep, deep feeling. Okay, so now let's shift from the shared energy of the group and turn inward. Let's focus on the singer and the absolute emotional core of the song. This is where we get into the real depth of flamenco. And it all starts with a single breath. Let's talk about the word jipío. Now today, when we hear it, we tend to think of this long, emotional, high-pitched wail, don't we? But what's fascinating is that its original meaning was almost the exact opposite. A true historical jipío was a showcase of jaw-dropping technical skill. It was about singing an entire verse on one single breath. It was a symbol of incredible mastery and control, not just raw, untamed emotion. And this whole idea of depth is so central to flamenco. For a very long time, it was widely believed that certain song forms, or palos, like the really serious seguidillas or soleras, were inherently hondo, deep. They were considered the profound, serious heart of all of flamenco. But here's where the modern understanding of flamenco becomes so beautiful. Today, it's understood that true depth, jondura, doesn't actually come from the song. It comes from the artist. A truly great performer can take the lightest, happiest, most festive song and fill it with such profound feeling that it becomes hondo. Depth isn't a category anymore. It's an interpretation. It's about what the artist brings to the table. So, let's zoom out again. Where did all of this incredible complexity come from? I mean, to really understand the soul of flamenco, you have to look at its deep and honestly super diverse historical roots. For instance, take the jota. This is a traditional folk dance from a completely different part of Spain. But back in the 19th century, flamenco artists absorbed its DNA, its harmonic structure, its rhythmic feel, and they totally transformed it into something new. It's a perfect example of how flamenco has always been this amazing art form that borrows, adapts, and innovates.
When you really step back and look at its history, you see flamenco is this rich, incredible tapestry. It weaves together threads from ancient dances, fuses them with folk traditions like that jota we just talked about, and even pulls in the sounds of everyday working life, like the jabagotes, which were songs sung by fishermen as they mended their nets. This is an art form built from history, from work, and from pure, unadulterated celebration. So what does all this vocabulary, all these J words, really tell us at the end of the day? Well, it proves that flamenco isn't some dusty relic locked away in a museum. It is a living, breathing tradition that is constantly and beautifully evolving. And you can see this living evolution everywhere you look. You see it in the juego de cuerdas, where every guitarist literally customizes their sound by picking and choosing their own strings. You see it in the juguetillo, which used to be a term for a throwaway little refrain, but is now an essential part of a style. And of course, you see it in that beautiful, evolving meaning of hondo. This is not a static tradition. It's an art form being reshaped by its artists in real time. Which brings us to this incredibly sharp, brilliant little poem by José María Pamán. It goes, "For so little song, a very long jipío." It's such a clever critique, right? It's calling out the tendency to lean on that big, emotional wail, that misunderstood jipío, when the actual substance, the song itself, is kind of thin. It's a powerful warning against mistaking a grand gesture for genuine feeling. And that really leaves us with a final, and I think crucial question that goes way beyond flamenco. In any art form, really, in any expression, how do we tell the difference? Where is that line between authentic, deep, gut-wrenching feeling and a gesture that's just for show? Now that is something to think about.